Hi, welcome to my new podcast setup. I'm so excited to be here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that I'm in a new space. It is our original home that we were living in. We were displaced by a fire. If you want to hear more about that, I did post about it this week, so go check it out. We were displaced because of a fire. We are finally 5 months later back in, and I'm so excited. It makes me emotional. This space has been it was the same original like paint, carpet from when we first bought it back when Brock was born. So that's been almost 15 years. And with the fire and everything, like I'd always wanted to redo it, like repaint, get new carpet. And then, but we just didn't because, priorities. Well, the universe created the priority and now it's here, and we now have this beautiful new fresh space, and I can't even begin to describe how grateful I am for it. If you have been in that space before where you're not feeling like the energy of your surroundings is matching the level of energy that you have inside or that you want to create in your world, then you understand what I'm talking about, because it was bothering me to have the old carpet and the old paint because I wanted to have a fresh look. But I was just so busy with other things that I didn't make it a priority, but I didn't realize how much that energy was affecting me. And so being in this space with having it fresh paint, new carpet, I feel so different. And I just want to say, you don't have to have new paint and new carpet to refresh your space. But when you intentionally refresh your space, maybe it's even just, cleaning, doing a deep cleaning or rearranging the furniture or something that you can do that's simple to refresh the energy in the space that you are in. Just want to throw that tip out there because it matters. And I'm feeling it right now, how much it's affecting me in a positive way to be in this fresh space. And I've also been a little bit crazy about, we are not bringing anything into this house that we don't absolutely love. I do not want to have clutter. I don't want to have just random things like, oh, maybe I'll use this someday. I am so over it right now. And so that a fresh new space combined with that energy of being ready to let things go is just making me feel so alive and refreshed. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you're feeling stuck, if your energy's feeling low, your surroundings might need a little, what's the word? A little spice up, a little refresh, something. So yeah, let's get into the episode. Welcome to Empowered Now. I'm your host, Colette Kati. Join me as we talk all things to uplift, encourage, teach, inspire, and empower you to see your best self, to live your best life, and to thrive wherever you are. Last week, we talked about self-love, self-sacrifice, and selfishness, and how it matters so much where you're coming from, that operating system that you're working from, either self-love, self-sacrifice, or selfishness, it matters. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go check it out now. This is part 2 of this self-love series, okay? These next 4 videos for February are all about self-love. And it matters so much to me because these are really core foundational topics that when you really get them, it shifts your entire world. So if you haven't heard that episode from last week, go check it out. Link will be in the description and also at the end slate of this video. You don't have to do them in order though. You can listen to this one. Okay. Okay. Excited. Thanks for being here with me. You guys are my ride or dies. The ones that just stick with me when I'm in my crazy and I'm in my just squirrel distraction moments. Thank you. Thanks for sticking around, because there are some gems here despite the detours that we go off every once in a while. All right. This week's episode is golden, okay? We're going to talk about boundaries. You cannot have self-love without boundaries. Dun, dun, dun! What are boundaries? You can't have self-love without boundaries, and I'm going to tell you why. If I have a pattern of self-sacrificing, self-abandoning, or people-pleasing, which who doesn't? If you're out there and you're like, I never people-please, then this episode isn't for you probably. Actually, just kidding. It's still for you because boundaries don't have to mean just for people that are people-pleasing. Just to reiterate, sometimes people that are 80%ers, and I talk about this dynamic in the last episode, 80%ers are more that personality that gets their needs met by taking. They go out and get it. They go and, you need 80%ers in the world. You need people that are proactive and intentional and purposeful about going out and getting what they need, going after things. But even if you're an 80%er, often you can still have people-pleasing patterns and tendencies. Okay. The other side of that, if you are more of a 20%er personality where you are a giver, you're, most of the time putting yourself last and putting other people's needs first so that you can feel kind. It's just how you get your needs met. It's like you feel better when you're putting other people first because that means something to you. What does that mean? Think about that. What does it mean when you put other people first? It means if I put you first and I take care of you, then I will receive the love from you. I will receive happiness knowing that I did a good thing for you. Think about that. Anyways, I don't want to get too sidetracked because we already talked about that in the last episode. So this pattern is so familiar to me because this was my operating system for a really, really long time. All growing up, really. I learned to people please. I want to make people happy. I want to fix it, right? I want to fix it. How can I fix it? I don't think I want to go there in this episode, but I often will think back to my past and why I developed that. But I don't want to go there because it's not actually that important. Sometimes it's helpful to be like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense why I would do this because I had to do this when I was a kid. I'll just tell you. So when I was a kid and my mom was sick with cancer, I remember my dad being so sad and just really, really upset a lot of the time. We didn't really hide our emotions from each other. It was like, oh, this is a bad day. There's tears. It is what it is. And I remember feeling like, I just want to fix it. I want to help. I want to make everybody happy because there were heavy things going on in the world. And I just want to make everybody happy. I want everybody to be okay. That makes me feel good when other people are happy and okay. Right? Of course. But what we end up doing sometimes, and this was me, is I often would self-sacrifice or self-abandon in order to do that, which would look like, this is kind of a simple one, but you can ask my family. I could never make a decision about where I wanted to go eat or what I wanted to eat once I got at the restaurant. It was like, this decision matters so much and I don't want anybody to be upset. So we can go wherever you guys want to go, whatever you want. It was really difficult for me to actually decide this is what I want to eat. This is where I want to go because I wanted everybody to be happy. Okay, that's just a small example. I'm not as much that way anymore. Now I'm like, what do I feel like? Well, let's go here. Let's see. What are the options? Let me eat that. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that deep, as Avia would always say. It doesn't really matter that much. But that's just one example of a pattern of people pleasing. The inability to make decisions well and easily because you want others to be happy. So I want to tell you how this can get really haywire is when you're doing that so much that now you're feeling like your needs aren't being met but you're not exactly advocating for them either. And that's where boundaries come into place. Often we will allow others to kind of walk all over us, but it's our decision whether we let that happen or not. And it's not noble to let other people walk all over you. Reminding you, it's not noble to put other people first and to put yourself last. It's not. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help you. I mean, it helps them in the moment get what they want, maybe. But in the long run, it does not help. Okay, speaking about people that have people-pleasing patterns. And the reason I don't say people pleasers, because we're not going to identify with this pattern. It is not who you are. It's just a pattern that has been developed. And it's okay. But we don't want to stay here. So if you have a people-pleasing pattern, which I'm very familiar with because that is me, I still have to work on that, right? It's so deeply ingrained that I will, even with all the knowledge that I have and all the things that I do on a daily basis to help myself shift from a people-pleasing place to a more self-loving place, I still find myself in this pattern. And instead of taking me out of my power, I notice it now. I can laugh about it and be like, oh, I did that again. Cool. Okay, let's just shift that a little bit and see what we can do. See what information it has for me. If you have a people-pleasing pattern, you often will have resentment. Oh, guys, you might not want to realize that. So just let that sink in for a second. You might be struggling with resentment. Just notice that. And if you're like me, many, many years ago, I was like, no, I don't resent anyone. I love everyone. I am cool. I am fine. There's no problems here. Yeah. And there was not an angry bone in my body. So I thought, right? Just think about that for a minute. Just notice. If you are aware that you have a people-pleasing pattern, just notice of any resentments that you may have had or might still have happening for you. What often will happen is when we are in our pattern of people-pleasing and putting other people first, and our needs are coming last, we sometimes expect others to think and feel the same way. To think, oh, they would put my needs first because I'm important to them. But that's not always the truth. And so we often end up resenting other people because we're not willing to speak up for our needs. We expect other people to understand what we need and to meet those needs. And if they don't, we'll also tell ourselves, it's okay, I don't need that. It's okay, I don't need that. Because I need to make everything okay. I don't have needs. If I'm in a people-pleasing pattern, I often I don't even know that I have needs, right? Sometimes we are that far into our pattern that we think, oh, I'm fine. I don't ever need anything. No. And if I do, I'll figure it out. It's fine. I got it. Is this familiar to any of you? Am I the only one? No, I know I'm not, because I've coached several clients on this very thing. People pleasing causes resentment. And when you're in resentment, there's no peace there. There's no peace there. And often when that resentment comes up, we'll push it down because, oh, no. We're nice. We're kind. I don't resent people. I love people. I help people. I'm not angry or resentful of people. And if we do feel that anger and resentment, instead of acknowledging it, setting a boundary or speaking up for ourselves, speaking our needs, we'll go to guilt. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I shouldn't be resenting. I should not be angry right now. How terrible of me to have anger around this. So interesting, right? Okay. So if you've thought about that for a minute, let me see if I can, foot cramp, ow, ow. I like to sit in my chair like a child, and sometimes I have to remember that I'm not a child. Okay. So let's look at the flip side of this. When we have a people-pleasing pattern and we start learning to set boundaries, which is really, really hard. And I said this in the last episode. It feels selfish. It feels unnatural. It feels wrong. It feels like we're being mean. Something is weird about it because we're not used to it. But a boundary is something that you do to help yourself to feel okay, to be in a safe place, to feel safe inside, to feel happy inside. Like boundaries are actually there to help you advocate for you. Now, what a boundary is not is an ultimatum. A boundary isn't something that just to be clear, it's very subtle, just like in the last episode. This shift is really subtle. But a boundary is something that you choose, something that you do actively, or that you are not willing to compromise on, I guess, in order to help yourself be healthy, safe, happy, whole. Okay? An ultimatum is something that you're trying to get somebody else to do in order for you to be happy, safe, whole. It doesn't work. And it's not usually effective. And even if it is effective, there's still that outside in approach to you needing them to do everything just right so that you feel okay inside. Okay, they look the same sometimes. Okay, they look the same sometimes. So let me see if I can come up with a good example for you. Okay, one more thing before I go into an example of what a boundary looks like. Boundaries create compassion. So we often think as people that are self-abandoning or have a people-pleasing pattern that we are showing compassion to other people as we put them first. I'm showing love, empathy, compassion towards them when I put them first and myself last, which we've learned can often create resentment, and it will also create guilt because we don't think that it's okay to feel resentment and anger. But that guilt and resentment are there because we're not advocating for ourselves. Now, I realize that if you're in this pattern pretty deep, as you start advocating for yourself, you're also going to feel guilty because that feels foreign, that doesn't feel healthy. But you've got to practice it in order to shift it, right? You got to practice it in order to shift it. So that's why I'm trying to paint this picture for you so you can see when you are in a people-pleasing pattern, there often will be resentment and then guilt because we don't want to let ourselves feel the anger and resentment. That's why there can often be anger suppression and people that are like, oh, I'm never angry, which, is fine. There's no judgment there, but it could be an indication that there is some stuff being stuffed. Know what I'm saying? Because I didn't even realize that I had stuff that I was stuffing. When we have boundaries and we're advocating for ourselves, for our own needs and health and safety, that's when we learn to have compassion for other people. Because when you bring that love inside and you can be with yourself in all of your feelings, feelings of mistakes, feelings of inadequacy, feelings of guilt, when you can learn to be with yourself in those feelings and advocate for yourself to create a space of safety and wholeness, then you can look at other people with compassion because you're not resenting them anymore. You're not looking outward in order for them to change so that you can be okay. And that creates compassion. Compassion says, I matter and I'm okay and you matter. And your okayness is actually up to you. but I'm okay. And I'm kind. I can still be kind and have boundaries. And in fact, boundaries are sometimes the most kind thing you can do for people. Boundaries show other people that you are a safe space because you are solid and grounded and you know how to advocate for yourself. You're teaching others to do that for themselves too. Okay, I am going to share an example with you, and I keep being drawn to this specific one, and I'm not sure why, but perhaps it will help. I know somebody out there needs to hear this, so I'm going to share this example. So what if you are in a relationship, whatever relationship it is, and you feel like the other person is talking down to you or mistreating you verbally? Sometimes people that have a people-pleasing pattern will allow others to speak to them in a way that isn't kind, that isn't okay. And that's the hard thing because you can't control, like you can't force somebody to speak differently to you, right? You can't actually, like there's a boundary where you could leave a situation, right? But you can't force somebody to not say what they're going to say. How do you deal with that? How do you set a boundary around that? Well, when you're coming from a place of self-love or establishing self-love within you, you make the choice and you decide, what am I willing to accept? What am I unwilling to accept? And this could change. It can be flexible. It can change at any point because sometimes we are in a situation and maybe your best girlfriend or your best guy friend is going to say, you need to get out of here. Or you need to leave. But sometimes you're not ready to do something like that, or that's not the right decision for you in the moment. And if you make decisions that aren't right for you in the moment, you're going to self-sabotage yourself somehow, okay? That's why establishing this self-love and learning to set boundaries in order to protect your internal rights and respecting yourself internally. That's when life can get better. And that's when decisions start to line up because now you know you're operating from a different level. And that's how this starts. So what's a boundary you can set if somebody is speaking to you unkindly on a regular basis or just ever? First, the boundary has to come from within. It has to come from, I don't feel okay with this. I want to feel better. And it's my responsibility that happens. I'm going to say that again. I matter. I am not okay with this. I want to feel better. And it's my responsibility. Okay, that is the kicker. It's your responsibility. If you're still putting responsibility on the other person, be like, they need to do this. They shouldn't do this. They are wrong for doing this. But yet you're still allowing them to do that thing. That's where you're disempowered. It's your responsibility, your safety, your self-love, your power is your responsibility. Okay. So that's where it starts. The boundary starts inside when you decide, I'm not okay with this. Something's got to change. And I'm willing to do something to make it change. Because a boundary is about what you will do, not about what the other person will do. What you will accept, what you will allow, not what the other person will accept or allow or won't. Right? Okay. That's where it starts. Then, as you've established that internal knowing, okay, I've got to do something. It is my responsibility. That's when you can really decide, what do I need to do for myself? What do I need to do? And that can look different. That can look different for everybody. It could be telling this other person, when you get to this level in the conversation, or you say these certain words, or if you do that, then I am stepping away. I am removing myself, or I am no longer having this conversation. I'll talk to you when you're at a neutral place. End of story. hang up, walk away. It's not easy, is it? What happens when you think about doing that? If you're in that position, it's not easy, but that's where it starts. Find that love within. I've got to do something. It's my responsibility. What is it that I need? It's not going to feel comfortable. It's not going to be easy because boundaries are hard. They're difficult. If you're not used to them, if you've been used to the other way, but you're still not okay, it's going to feel weird to set boundaries. But here's what it will look like if you continue that process. And maybe you're saying, okay, well, I tried it. And then like they kept doing the thing. You broken record, repeat, get out of there. That's another concept. It's so, I love it. I actually learned this from my therapist with setting boundaries. You can say, you state your truth, you state your boundary, and you get out of there. If the other person's arguing with you, if they keep going, you state your truth, you state your boundary, and you get out of there. I am no longer going to sit here while you talk to me that way. We can continue this conversation when you are at a better place. Remove. Another tip with using boundaries is to keep your statements as I statements. You're not really making it all about them and their problems because they're not the solution. You are. You get to be the solution to your safety, to your okayness, what that might look like in this situation where somebody's talking to you in a way that you're not okay with. And you finally established that you're not okay with it, right? You've got to do that part because sometimes if you don't do that part, you're like, well, it's okay. It's fine. Maybe they'll stop. Maybe someday it'll be better. Maybe at one point they'll hear me and change. Don't wait. Don't wait. You establish what you deserve and what you want, and then you get it. You take responsibility for you to get it. I'm not okay with the way you're speaking to me. I am going to go away now. I will continue this conversation when I feel safer, when I feel more respected, whatever that looks like. Walk away. There's so much to boundaries and there's so much to this topic, and it's so good and so juicy because we often don't realize how much better life can be as we establish that self-love and we learn I'm responsible and I'm going to learn to set boundaries so that I can be safe, that I can feel good inside. That's what boundaries do for you. And I promise you, as you learn to set them, as you learn to create this new level of what you will and won't do or accept in your world will start to change. And by the way, boundaries are flexible. There's no judgment around where you are in your boundary world. Maybe you're in a super healthy relationship with all your relationships and you don't need boundaries, and that's great. But my experience is we all need to learn boundaries somewhere in our world, and it starts with us. Sometimes the boundary you need to have is with yourself. Maybe you're the one in a conversation that often goes to flying off the handle and like saying words that you don't mean or that you don't want to say, or maybe you do mean them, but maybe you didn't want to say them. That's where you can learn to set some boundaries with yourself. And what that looks like is compassion. When you're in a place where you feel like you need to be upset at somebody or speak down to them, it's often because there's an unease within you because you're grasping without to fill that hole within. That's when self-love is really important. And you get to decide for yourself. Listen, I don't want to do that. I don't want to speak down to the people that I love. What do I need so that I can feel love and safety, so that I'm not lashing out at the people around me? What do I need? What does that boundary look like? Do you need more sleep? Do you need help from a therapist or a coach? Do you need to process your emotions? Do you need to learn what that even means? What is it that you need so that you're not projecting pain or projecting pain outward onto the people that you love or onto people that you hate? What does that look like for you? Okay? There's so much. There's so much I want to keep going into. But that is like that's the gist of the boundaries. Okay, just to reiterate, boundaries are there to help you create safety, happiness, wholeness within. As you do that, that also creates love, compassion, and self-respect. When you have that within yourself, you can have it for other people. So that's why boundaries create compassion. They are the ultimate compassion creators, especially if you are a person that is stuck in a pattern of people pleasing. If you have any questions about this episode, please let me know because it's a big one and I've just scratched the surface. I am now taking clients for my private 6-month coaching program. This is a transformational program. It is not for the faint of heart. It is not, if you're just like curious about it, if you're just like wondering, oh, I don't know, maybe this would be good for me, don't apply. You can ask me more questions in the comments. You can ask me questions in the DMs. This program is for you if you are like, I know I need this. I know I need to change. I know that this people-pleasing pattern is creating havoc in my world and I'm not okay. What do I got to do? This is it. It's not for the faint of heart, but it is transformational. It will change your world. It will give you tools. We work very closely together for a good part of the year to really get you to a place where you understand boundaries, you understand self-love, you are living and operating from a different place because you have the tools now. You've had the mental shifts, you've had the internal shifts to now live differently and feel differently. It's powerful. If this is for you, go apply now. The link will be in the description on YouTube and also in the show notes on Apple and Spotify. And I cannot wait to see you guys next week. Thank you for being here. Bye. Thanks for watching Empowered Now. If anything you heard today resonated with you and you want more, please like and subscribe so that you won't miss an upload. You can also follow me on social media at Colette Kati. And if you're interested in working with me more closely through coaching or other opportunities, go to my website, ColetteKati.com. It is my hope that you will continue to come back and experience for yourself the benefits of choosing an empowered life. Your feedback and your experience are very important to me, so please take a moment to connect with me in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on today's episode, ideas for future topics, and ideas for guests that you would like to see. And as always, thanks for your time, support, and your courage to live empowered now.